thief, shouts a protester as the convoy of vehicles carrying the man who led the central bank for decades enters a Beirut courthouse. Riyad Salamé was for years celebrated as a financial wizard. But on Monday he was ordered by a judge to remain in detention during an investigation into alleged financial crimes. Salamé came under scrutiny after the catastrophic collapse of Lebanon's financial system in 2019, which plunged more than 80% of the population into poverty. His 3 decades in charge of the central bank ended last year, his reputation in tatters. He was arrested last week on charges that state media said included embezzlement, theft of public funds, forgery and illicit enrichment. Salamé's media office has said he would not comment publicly on the case, in line with the law. He has denied previous corruption charges. These charges sparked outrage from citizens whose funds were frozen in Lebanese banks. A lawyer representing them said Salamé entering court in handcuffs was a relief for Lebanese people. If Salamé faces prosecution, it would mark a rare case of a serving or retired senior Lebanese official facing accountability in a system critics say has long shielded the elite. Let them fall like dominoes, says this protester. Judicial sources told Reuters Salamé was suspected of accruing more than $110 million through financial crimes using a Lebanese firm called Optimum Invest. His office said in a statement he had cooperated in the past with more than 20 criminal probes and was cooperating with this investigation. Several European countries, including France and Germany, have been investigating whether tens of millions of dollars of the funds allegedly embezzled from the central bank were laundered in Europe.
Typhoon Yaghai left dozens dead in northern Vietnam as it barreled westwards, preliminary government estimates showed on Monday. The country's infrastructure has also been hit by Asia's most powerful storm of this year, as the weather agency warned of more floods and landslides. Widespread damage could be seen in the Vietnamese capital Hanoi on Monday, with downed trees covering the streets and signs ripped from their hoardings. The typhoon swept across Vietnam's northeastern coast on Saturday, cutting power to millions, flooding highways and disrupting telecommunications networks. This usually busy bridge in Phu Tho province was swept away. Authorities said initial investigations suggested there were 8 vehicles on the bridge when it collapsed. Despite being downgraded to a tropical depression on Sunday, Yaghai has brought a halt to economic activity in many industrial hubs. Managers and workers at industrial parks and factories in Hai Phong, a coastal city of 2 million, said on Monday that power was out and equipment was being salvaged from the rain. These pictures show an LG electronics factory, the walls of which collapsed following the typhoon's impact. Local resident Bui Van Thuy began cleaning up the damage to his shop on Sunday.
The damage done to this community is extremely severe. Most of the roof was blown away or the ceiling caved in. It may take 3 to 4 years for this place to look the same again because the damage is so terrible. The surroundings look like an apocalypse. Never before has a storm dealt this much damage to us.
State-run power provider EVN said 75% of the 5.7 million customers that lost power over the weekend now had electricity restored.
So I am currently on just past 18th. Just past Phillips. I'm on 18th, giving you guys kind of a look of the structures right here that you're hearing go up. Here's a look at the structures that have burnt on 20th. Again, I am on 20th Street now.
1,000 miles from Moscow is the Serbian capital of Belgrade, a place a vibrant community of Russians now call home, part of a wave of tens of thousands who left their motherland after its invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Vadim Morus is one of them. The ice skater was able to settle in easily thanks to his professional skills.
My first day at the skating rink, when I started working, people immediately approached me asking me to help their children with training, and I said, of course. Therefore, right from the very beginning, I started meeting Serbs and establishing some interaction.
But not everyone is integrating with the locals, as a mini Russia springs up in Belgrade, a city with ancient cultural and religious ties to Moscow. After the war began, up till mid-2023, more than 30,000 Russians registered for temporary residence in Serbia, according to the latest government data. It's a sharp increase compared with before, officials said. Many of the émigrés, fleeing conflict, conscription or the politics of President Vladimir Putin, were seen queuing to vote at the embassy earlier this year in Russia's election. Fewer Russians are moving to Serbia than to countries like Germany, but their presence is acutely felt in Belgrade, a city of under 2 million people. A whole range of Russian-owned businesses have sprung up, and many Russians shop at Russian stores and eat at Russian restaurants. Psychologist Michelle Dia, who also left because of the war, said many of her fellow Russians don't feel the need to go outside their community.
As it appears, all their social needs have been fulfilled. You walk through the centre and you always hear Russian people, 4 or 5 times in an hour of walking. And you can choose a restaurant with Russians, sit in a place with Russians. So many of them immediately organised themselves into a small Russian settlement.
But she added that the stresses of fleeing their homeland meant it has been difficult for many others to settle in. I see Russians that are not even interacting with other Russians, she said. Ties between Serbia and Russia date back centuries and remain cordial today, although Serbia is trying to join the European Union, which condemns Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Serbian political scientist Aleksandar Djokic was teaching in Russia until the war broke out. He said the new arrivals, many of whom are experts in fields such as IT, could be a boost to Serbia's economy, even if they did not choose to integrate with wider society. But Djokic added, this wave of émigrés won't have the same cultural impact compared to a century ago, when artists and architects arrived as part of the anti-communist, so-called White Russians, fleeing the civil war.
Police say the recent death of a beluga whale famous for suspicions it may be a spy for Russia was not related to human activity. The whale was found dead on August 31st by a father and son fishing in southern Norway. Police filed an investigation after 2 animal rights groups filed a complaint, alleging it had been shot dead. Police say the whale's injuries were completely superficial, and there was no evidence suggesting the whale was shot. An autopsy showed a stick measuring 14 inches in length and 1.2 inches wide was stuck in the animal's mouth. In a statement, police said the whale's stomach was empty and most organs had broken down. The whale captured media attention in 2019 after being found along Norway's Arctic coast, wearing a harness with what appeared to be a camera mount. Norway and Russia share a maritime border in the Arctic, leading to jokes the whale was a Russian spy. It was called Valdemir, a combination of the Norwegian word for whale and the first name of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Police said a full report would be ready in 2 weeks and that they would not be investigating further.
As the summer comes to an end,
Britain's Princess Kate said on Monday she had finished her course of preventative chemotherapy for cancer. Kensington Palace released this video conveying a personal message from the Princess of Wales, who appears with her husband Prince William and their 3 young children, George, Louis and Charlotte. The 42-year-old wife of the heir to Britain's throne underwent major abdominal surgery in January, which revealed the presence of cancer. Kate said the treatment gave her a new perspective.
This time has above all reminded William and me to reflect and be grateful for the simple yet important things in life, which so many of us often take for granted, of simply loving and being loved.
In the video, filmed in Norfolk, eastern England last month, Kate said she would be carrying out a handful of public engagements later this year, but that her path to full recovery would be long. She has made only a couple of public appearances since her health issues emerged. Kensington Palace has declined to give any further details about the type of cancer or specific details about her treatment.
Acclaimed actor James Earl Jones, the voice of Star Wars supervillain Darth Vader, died Monday at the age of 93. His agent did not cite a cause of death, but said Jones, a longtime diabetic, was surrounded by his family in his last moments. In interviews, Jones said he loved playing the part of Darth Vader and of being part of the Star Wars myth.
When I walk out tonight, there'll be kids with posters to be signed. It doesn't haunt me. I love it. I love that I was a part of that cult.
His deep, booming voice took on a career of its own. Jones voiced Mufasa in The Lion King and won a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Album, Great American Documents, in 1977. But the voice didn't come naturally to Jones. As a child, he had to overcome a stutter, and he even stopped speaking because of it, staying mostly silent until high school. An English teacher got him to speak up and recite to the class a poem. After that, Jones said he learned to control a stutter and became interested in acting. Over the decades, Jones played many leading Shakespeare roles, including Hamlet, Macbeth, King Lear, and Othello. He received Tonys for stage work in The Great White Hope in 1969 and Fences in 1987. And on television, he received Emmys in 1991 for Gabriel's Fire and Heatwave. In 2011, he was given an honorary Oscar for Extraordinary Distinction in Lifetime Achievement.
Frankly, what the heck else would you call that but an actor's wet dream?
His bass-heavy tones were also heard in dozens of television commercials. For several years, CNN used Jones's authoritative "This is CNN" to introduce its newscasts.
Apple has unveiled its iPhone 16 with new AI features.
The next generation of iPhone has been designed for Apple Intelligence from the ground up.
Apple Intelligence is the name of the company's artificial intelligence software. It'll be used to improve Siri, Apple's personal assistant, as well as enhancing camera features.
Apple Intelligence marks the start of a new era for Siri and makes it more natural, more contextually relevant, and more personal to you.
Tech companies around the world are racing to add AI to products, and phones are expected to be one of the most important battlegrounds. Apple's announcement on Monday came just hours after its Chinese rival, Huawei, racked up 3 million pre-orders for its trifold phone.
Instead of seeing the first couple lines of your emails, you'll see summaries that convey the most useful information. Your notifications will be summarized too, helping you quickly get the gist.
A test version of Apple Intelligence will be available in the US version of the English language next month, with versions in Chinese, French, Japanese, and Spanish coming next year. But these upgrades will take time to reach consumers in China. Apple Intelligence must be approved by Beijing in order to be released in the country. Last year, iPhones accounted for more than half of Apple's $383 billion sales. Apple is betting that the AI feature will drive consumers to upgrade, as it sees a slowdown in iPhone sales.